Welcome in for another edition of the Morning Espresso here on the SDH Network, brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore, and it's all the soccer news you need to know for Thursday, February 13th. Champions League yesterday. We're going to start with the early game. Club Brugge, they win 2-1 at home over Atalanta, but was the video assistant referee asleep? Was he watching a rerun of The Simpsons? Where was he when a penalty was given in stoppage time? I'm just shocked it didn't go down for an on-field review. Both players hand fighting, trying to get to a spot. There's light contact to the attacker's face. The attacker throws himself to the ground. It's obvious that there's play acting involved. These are not the penalties that we want to see given in games to decide them. These are not the penalties we want to see given in general. This is something that we talk about VAR, and I know there's some leagues around the world, in Scandinavia specifically, that are talking about getting rid of it. These are some of the black eyes for it. VAR didn't get involved here, and it should have. VAR is there to get calls right, and I think to get us where we want to be in this game, where you're not seeing a penalty like this given. So get involved. And I would love to hear exactly what the conversation was. The referee shouldn't have given the penalty. I think he had a decent enough view of everything to begin with. The VAR should have recommended an on field review. And if they did and the referee didn't want to take that, and I don't know what the protocols are in UEFA, then the referee should not be working any more Champions League games this season and probably should be having a long conversation with people about their future involvement. It was a horrible call and it should not be happening at this level. Celtic, they were down 2-0 to Bayern. They cut it in half before the final whistle. They'll go to Germany trailing 2-1 in the second leg. Milan, they buy Feyenoord's best player, Santiago Jimenez, but they still lose to them 1-0 in the Netherlands. Feyenoord is a mess. They fired their manager less than 48 hours before the game, but they get the win. Mike Maignan with an big mistake, and Feyenoord gets the 1-0 win. Second leg will be in Italy next week. Benfica, they won on the road in France over Monaco. The hosts had a red card in the 52nd minute. That was 4 minutes after Benfica's go-ahead goal. Wild 2-2 draw yesterday in the Premier League between Everton and Liverpool. It's the last Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park. James Tarkowski, he earned the point for Everton in the 98th minute. Wild scenes at Goodison. Wild scenes after the final whistle where Everton players ran to maybe taunt Liverpool fans, and Liverpool players took exception, and red card to a player from each team. Arne Slot was sent off as well. His assistant was sent off as well. Total chaos. That was upped in Brazil last night. Flamengo, they beat Botafogo 1-0. Brawl after the game. 3 red cards shown. The fight continued into the tunnel in that one. That win put Flamengo on top of the Carioca State League competition. Botafogo is now in 8th place behind many lower division clubs in the National League. And yeah, I've talked about a state league and the National League, and they're different and they're separate. And the National League hasn't started yet in Brazil. And if you ever think the league structure in the U.S. is too complicated, try to figure out the Brazilian structure one of these days, and good luck. MLS, FC Dallas, they finalized the largest cash trade in the short history of the league and in the short history of the mechanism to do this. 30-year-old Argentine Luciano Acosta going from Cincinnati to Dallas, $5 million, $1 million additional, that is conditional based on performance. Cincinnati's going to break that record when they finalize the deal for Evander from Portland. That's rumored at $12 million. You had 2 players that are unhappy in their current situations here. They're going to move within the league rather than leave. This is a good thing. The cash for player trade mechanism is working. I think it is a good thing in MLS, and we'll see how other teams choose to take advantage of it. We've talked about Colorado bringing in Ted Ku DiPietro for a much smaller fee, but a cash move for a young player. So I'm intrigued to see how other teams use it from a strategy perspective. Dallas is using it to upgrade their squad. Cincinnati is using it to replace a player. And I said it on Atlanta Soccer Tonight on Tuesday. I'm going to stand by it. $12 million for Evander, getting $5 million for Luciano Acosta. I don't think those values reflect the impact of the player, and I'm not sure that Evander in Cincinnati makes them better. than if they had Lucho, but it sounds like there was no way they were going to be able to keep Lucho because of the issues between him and Chris Albright. So whew, that's going to be a tricky one. LA Galaxy, they acquired 33-year-old forward Christian Ramirez from the Columbus Crew, $500,000 in GAM over the next 2 years. Ramirez, he's going to get the opportunity to be a star near home. He was born in Santa Ana, went to UC Santa Barbara. My question is still the same for the Crew. Who's going to play up top? No Cucho, no Christian Ramirez anymore. For MLS Season Pass subscribers who have Android, good news. Apple has launched a new Apple TV app on Google Play. Go get that if you want to watch your MLS Season Pass on Android devices. The US U17s, they followed up on their 22-0 win over the US Virgin Islands. They beat St. Kitts and Nevis 7-0 last night. All they need is a draw against Cuba on Saturday to book their spot in the U17 World Cup this November. Cuba's won both of their games as well, but Cuba has a much lower goal differential, obviously 29 plus for the US. Kara Kroon from Brookhaven. She's a grad of Chambly High School. She's currently at UCLA. She was named to the U.S. U19 women's national team for an upcoming event in Europe. They're going to play the Netherlands. They're going to play England. They're going to play Spain. Whew. That's in preparation for qualifying for the 2026 U20 World Cup. The Copa del Rey semifinal draw is done. Barcelona will play Atleti. Real Madrid will be pitted against Real Sociedad. Let's jump over to Real Madrid real quick. Money is always a conversation in this game. We know this, unfortunately. Big part of the conversation around Vinicius and a new contract at Real Madrid, and this is only going to intensify from here. They've opened negotiations over a new contract for Vinicius. Wednesday, it was reported that his agents had met with Saudi Arabian officials in Prague. He's considering an irrefutable, in quotes, offer from the Middle East, which would pay him $1 billion, 1 billion euro over the next 5 years. Marca say that Real Madrid are not happy about this current situation, not happy about Vinicius's behavior, baffled by the current news stories. They don't understand why so many stories about Vinicius are getting into the public domain at this point, why his camp are meeting with Saudi Arabia. They don't get it. Regardless, here's what's the real situation right now. Vinicius, 2.5 years left on his contract right now, 1 billion euro release clause. They don't want to sell him. They want him to stay focused. They want him to be part of the key stages of the season, Champions League, winning La Liga. But this is going to be a big distraction. It's going to be a big talking point. So stay tuned. Another big distraction and talking point. Let's go to France. DAZN, who is the major TV provider in France, they have the majority of the games. They have withheld half of their latest payment for Ligue 1's domestic rights. So the LFP, the league structure, they have started legal action against DAZN over this. 4-year deal started the season. DAZN agreed to pay 400 million euro a year for the French rights to 8 of the 9 Liga fixtures each weekend. BN paying 100 million euro for the other game, the big focus game on Saturday nights. The two deals combined, more than 10% down on the previous deal, which was Amazon Prime and Canal Plus. About half of what the league agreed to in 2018 with Media Pro for a domestic deal that started in June of 2020, collapsed 5 months later. That was during COVID. Media Pro wanted their way out. That one went to court. It fell apart. Total mess. DAZN has made it clear they don't want to pay the 400 million euro anymore. They want a lower annual fee, or they're going to activate their break clause and walk away at the end of next season. It's a little bit of a surprise that they've handled this the way that they have. So they've said that they're only paying half because the league hasn't done enough to tackle digital piracy. They're upset that clubs have not helped DAZN shoulder content for the Liga platform. They're upset that clubs haven't promoted the service well enough. This has been kind of expected that things could come to a head with DAZN this quickly, but not quite in this way. DAZN also 2 weeks ago reported a 1.2 billion pound loss for 2023. Their Anglo-Russian businessman Lynn Blavatnik has their majority shareholder. He pumped in another 665 million pounds into the company. He's got an investment of 5.3 billion pounds since the launch in 2007. However, this is very confusing. SURJ, the sports investment arm of the Saudi sovereign wealth fund PIF, they paid $1 billion for a 10% stake in DAZN, which is the same amount DAZN paid for the global rights to the FIFA Club World Cup this summer. Follow the math, follow all of it. Here's the big story. French football is in crisis again over TV contracts, and they're probably going to have to take things in-house sooner rather than later because they can't find anybody who will consistently and on time pay them for the product. And the prices that people are even suggesting they will pay keeps declining. Liga is in a problem right now, and clubs are in a huge problem right now. And then you add this onto it. This is hit in Paris this morning. According to a report from the AFP, PSG president Nasser El Khelaïfi was indicted on February 5th, charges of, quote, complicity in vote buying and infringement on voting freedom, as well as, quote, complicity in abuse of power. This is relating to a case revolving around French businessman Arnaud Lagardière. It's a reported attempt to influence a crucial vote by the Qatari sovereign fund that was a shareholder in his group. This has resonated in Doha already. Qatari officials have reportedly threatened to withdraw investments in France, including beIN Sports and including PSG. That's from RMC sport journalist Arthur Perot. Keep an eye on France. This is going to be crazy. Also, speaking of money, because, cash rolls everything around me, as Wu-Tang told us back in the day, Foster Gillette's group. Yeah, Foster, still at it. He has not paid the contract termination clause of Rodrigo Viagra of River Plate, Viagra. Here's the deal. The other club, the other group, the other investor, they can't pay the termination clause, but they can, I guess, according to Argentine reports, funnel the money to the player. The player can then pay the termination clause. Well, it was agreed to do. River Plate already went out and got a replacement. The window's closed in Argentina now. They haven't done it. So it's been 2 weeks. The player's in limbo. He's not training at River. River can't really move him anywhere unless it's to Brazil at the moment. It's unknown what's going to happen with him this season. It's a $12 million termination clause, and Vijagra is just stuck. And Foster Gillette's group has not done this. So, and there's others. This is the first one in a little while it's been talked about, but there's other reported issues with payments being made. All I can say is MLS clubs, if Foster Gillette shows up and is promising you money, make sure you have the briefcase before you do any deals, because you got a bunch of clubs in Argentina right now that are on the hook. And if you're Estudiantes, you get out of this, whatever relationship you have, and you run in the other direction. I know you need the money. You're not going to get the money, it looks like, with the way this is going down. It's a total mess. The J League season, it kicks off tomorrow. Vissel Kobe, they are going for their third straight title. You can watch a lot of those games. Go to livesoccertv.com. You can keep up with where you can watch these games. J League in the past, you could watch a lot of games on YouTube, so you might want to do that. I think we're going to see more Japanese players making their way to Major League Soccer in the upcoming seasons. It's a market that the league really hasn't been able to work with on a regular basis. I think you're going to see more and more of that as we go. Tonight, our high school soccer slate, it continues. The Creek Cup. You can listen via the Mixler app, or you can click the listen link on soccerdownhere.net. Choose which game you want to listen to. SDH 1, SDH 2 will be fired up. I will be at Johns Creek High School for boys action. Walton and Sequoia at 6 o'clock. Campbell and North Atlanta at 8 o'clock. John Nelson will be at Northview High School for the girls' game between Northview and Walton. That is a 6 o'clock kickoff. More Creek Cup coming all weekend long on the network. That is presented, as always, all of our Georgia high school soccer coverage presented by Kaiser Permanente. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another Morning Espresso. Rest of the day, I will be at Atlanta United training as well. We'll have clips and quotes coming out of that. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning on the Espresso.